Never have I ever had bodily fluids on me.
Let's do
it.
Oh. Never have I ever had a crush on a patient, and never have I ever had a crush on a colleague, intern, resident, or attending.
Oh, that's two questions.
Should we do?
Oh, never have I ever almost fainted or fainted, I guess is where we're going with this.
Never have I ever befriended a professor or an attendant.
You have to. You have
Oh,
to.
I know.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do something different. I have my friends from medical school here. Say hi, everyone.
Hi.
And we're gonna play Never Have I Ever Medical School Edition. So last year, all of us went through our clinical rotations, and we have recently finished our sub-Is. And today we're going to answer some questions. I have all of them written down here. And we're going to share our experiences doing clerkship last year with you guys today.
Oh, never have I ever almost fainted or fainted, I guess is where we're going with this.
Doing clerkships?
Or any.
In medical
I guess.
school.
Yeah.
Medical school. All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Wait, I can't see what you have. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh yeah, I guess I go first since I pulled the question.
Yeah.
This is probably not what you guys are expecting, but when I started my OB rotation, I had a very active intern. So our hospital system is kind of weird in the sense that you take one elevator to 14th floor and the other elevator above that. But if you're on, say, the 10th floor, you actually, or 10th floor actually works. The 5th floor, you have to choose either to go down and then up, or up, switch an elevator, and then higher. So my very active intern had this great idea. So, how would you like to run up some stairs at 5:45 in the morning? So hold on. This is the middle of clerkship, and for all these people, all of your great viewers who may not understand, you become very physically not fit in the middle of clerkships because you just don't have. Yeah, there you go. That's a good word. Because you just don't know when you have time to exercise. You always have to do extra reading outside, and in general, I just like my bed more than I should. So. He's very fit. He had just come off of his 4th year where I'm sure he had a lot of time to relax, get fit, be energized. So he's running up the stairs. And I don't want to look like I can't run up the stairs, so I ran up the stairs as well. So the first 5 minutes of the interview were great. We asked the questions like, hey, what's your name? How old are you? And all the, general questions. And all of a sudden I feel like, oh, I need to sit. Followed by, oh, I almost need to throw up. So I excuse myself. Really, there's not a good place to sit in these rooms, and I just sit in the corner. And my resident's doing all this interviewing, wondering where the 3rd-year medical student went. So afterwards, he finds me, and I'm pretty sure I'm a very different shade of color from where I am now. Yeah. And he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I may need some water and some orange juice, and possibly one of those little basins." Thankfully, did not need the basin. But I did have to drink these things, and we did have to not use the stairs ever again because of me. In hindsight, I wish I had kept myself in a better condition. But yes, that was the time I almost fainted and vomited.
God. Wow. It happens. It happens. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised I've never heard that story before today.
Yeah,
well,
I've never heard the
it's not my brightest moment. I don't go up and say, "Hey, how are you? I almost threw up today."
Yeah, I mean...
icebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. I've once almost fainted in a patient's room. It was a patient with metastatic breast cancer who had built up a fluid in her lungs, and to kind of help her breathe better, the pulmonologist decided to do a procedure called thoracentesis. Pretty much you insert a needle into the patient's lung from the back, and you're able to drain off fluid. I, for some reason, had never had any trouble watching needles before, or even getting my own blood draws. But that one particular time, it was a really long needle to begin with. I was watching. It was a pulmonology attending, a pulmonology fellow. The fellow had a little bit of a hard time finding the right pocket and getting it in. I was watching from the back, being the med student, kind of handing them supplies and everything. I started to feel really weird. Like I started to feel hot and I felt dizzy. I could hear them talk. They were really nice people. They were trying to teach me like, oh, this is how you find the pocket, this is how you train. But then their voices just started to feel unreal to me. Like I had this almost dissociative experience. Like my body was here on the ground, but my soul was being lifted outside of my body and I was watching myself. That went on for like a good 5 to 10 seconds, and then I knew I was going to faint. Yeah. So I also excused myself, left the patient's room. I did not want the patient to see me faint and have a rapid called on me. So I went outside to the hallway, found a corner, and squatted for like a good 5 to 10 minutes. And then I felt so much better afterwards.
I think we should also explain what a rapid is at some point, because we say rapid, and like, oh, what's this fast thing that's gonna happen?
Okay, so a rapid is, I don't know if anybody has a better explanation, but when someone is in kind of a medically critical situation, if their heart rate is going out of control, if they cannot breathe even with some basic oxygen support, or if someone just loses consciousness,
like
altered mental status, we call a rapid in the hospital, and you have a team of people who come in to help out and kind of reassess the situation.
And that's different from a code where it's like actually CPR. So RAP is like emergent, and code is you're doing CPR pretty much.
Exactly. So if I had fainted in that patient's room, they would have called a rapid on me, and that would have been very embarrassing. Yeah. So that happened to me.
Yeah, I mean, my story, I guess, or a story, I
A story
is it was like 2-3 a.m. on like a Saturday into Sunday morning sort of deal. It was in the OR. I was on transplant, so it was crazy hours. I'm sleeping maybe like 2 hours in some days, like 8 hours on other days. It's just like all over, like going in at midnight, going out 4 a.m., going in at like 9 p.m., like all very weird schedule. Anyway, so it's like 2 a.m., no one else is around. We're in the actual, can you transplant, like in the OR itself? I'm like scrubbed in. And then for some reason, I was like kind of drifting in and out of consciousness because I was a little tired. I just started like feeling lightheaded, a little anxious. And then the thing is, like, for me, I can kind of feel when these episodes start. And then usually I can like calm myself down or like go away. But you're scrubbed. You're literally standing there like this. You cannot do much. And then so like the anxiety is like feeding into the lightheadedness, feeding into like the sort of vagal situation going on.
Yeah.
And so it's to the point where I also thought I was gonna just pass out. And so I also excused myself, break scrub, right? Leave the OR. And then everything just spinning the entire and thankfully it's 2 a.m. so no one else is around. I just lie down on the floor outside the OR.
Yeah.
Until I like for like 2 minutes and then I like went back and then re-scrubbed in.
I think the key lesson that we learned from all of these stories is that it's very important to know when to excuse yourself. You don't want to hurt yourself. You know, when you fall, you could hit your head, you could really hurt yourself, and it's also very, very embarrassing. So just knowing when to kind of leave the room, and that's one way to protect yourself and also a way to protect your patients as well.
Right.
When it's not safe for you or them. So.
And no one's going to blame you. Like, everyone understands. It's, like, honestly, the med student fainting in the OR is kind of like a trope.
Sorry.
It happens.
It happens. Even to interns or residents.
Yeah.
So it's a human kind of thing.
Never have I ever experienced sexism in the hospital.
Ooh.
Interesting.
All right. All right. A few seconds to think about it. And then on 3, we'll put our card up. 1, 2, 3. What do we say?
Yeah, I feel like this is very...
this is unfortunately not that.
That's a hard question to start with. Do you have a...
I mean, I think it's kind of the usual. It's just like, as females, especially like, since we are on the younger side of like our training, I think sometimes we can come off as like nurses, PT, OT. I think I've been called everything under the sun. But yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely experienced that as well. And there was actually a time last year when I was on the cardiology rotation. My cardiology attending had just finished fellowship. She's pretty young. She's like this amazingly talented, very smart lady. And we also had a cardiology fellow who's like this very tall guy. And it was actually a different doctor who was on the consulting service who came over and talked to our team, but he just assumed that the guy was the attending and the girl was the fellow. And that was kind of awkward for everyone, but our attending took it very gracefully. You know, she introduced herself and said, actually, I am the attending, you know. So like, these kinds of things happen, but hopefully it will change.
Hopefully. Yeah, I mean, again, like not that surprisingly, I've been on the other side of this where I've gone in with like my residents or the rest of the team, and somehow the patient like looks to me as like the actual MD. And you know, I'm very, very clear, be like, oh, nope, I'm just the med student here, and pointing out. But it is unfortunate that, you know, this happens like multiple times on like every single rotation.
I will say though, I think it is a little bit of a reverse situation for OB though, because I've heard, I don't know about your experiences, but I've heard from like other people that as like a guy, a lot of the patients, I mean, rightfully decline to have a student, so then they just, you know, their labor part of the OB experience is like, you know, different.
I've definitely heard that too. My when I was on OB last year, we had a EM resident. They have to do like at least 10 deliveries or so.
Right.
And I had no trouble getting into delivery rooms and help people deliver, but he had just been kind of denied most of the time, unfortunately.
I think for us it was a little easier because somehow in our year with the OB interns we ended up having 4 men. So eventually
4 OB
we had 4 OB
interns.
male interns when I did it. By that time they couldn't really kick out our intern who was also male because he was the one going to all the deliveries. So then most people end up getting used to it. But I will say between me and the female PA student who was there, I was definitely kicked out more than she was.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I got lucky. Actually, like every single intern resident I had was a female on OBGYN, and I think I was only kicked out in like 1 delivery, to be honest. So I got a chance to go in, you know, almost all the deliveries. Never have I ever cried about a difficult day.
Ooh.
Hard hitting.
These are all hard questions to start off with. Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, all of us!
I mean,
medicine's tough sometimes.
Some days really
Medicine's
suck.
tough. Anybody want to share?
I can start. I mean, the one that comes to my mind is actually from my sub-I, really just a couple weeks ago. Without, you know, delving too much into patient details, it was just an especially young patient who had a pretty poor, like, long-term outlook, and she was a single mother with a 15-year-old daughter. And I mean, we were just all as a group kind of talking to her, kind of making sure, you know, everything was out in the open about, you know, what her next few months could look like. And it was just a really tough situation for everyone because I think all of us, especially me, since, you know, I was taking care of her every day, you know, we really liked her, we cared a lot for her, and I mean, sometimes there's only so much you can do from a medical standpoint. I mean, it's just hard to deal with that.
Yeah, it's a tough job. Wow.
It's kind of hard to follow up on that, isn't it?
I know.
I mean, so my story about like the first time I cried is actually completely different. It wasn't about a patient. It was just the situation that I was put in. Because of who I was working with on surgery, I had to go in a lot earlier. So I would find myself waking up at 3 in the morning, which is incredibly absurd. And I'd go in at 3, and because of how much, I guess, 2 students' work is on 1 student, I didn't realize it, but I never actually had time to review the list of patients that I had because it was also not sent out to us early enough. So I go into this surgery with this patient, which I admittedly should know the patient's like name and their details, and I knew them to some extent, but I didn't get enough sleep, and the idea was, I also didn't see this until maybe about 3 minutes before I went in, and then I got berated in front of the whole staff, and that was just one of those moments where you just felt like you had to cry because the absurdity of it all and the idea that you really couldn't have changed anything even if you thought that you wanted to was just, damn, this sucks kind of moment.
Yeah. I'm sorry that happened. Did just having some tears, did that help at all?
Yeah, it was before everybody wore masks for Corona, but it was great that when you had your mask and your little face shield and you're crying, you can't really see. You just kind of play it off like, oh, I kind of like blow like too much steam from my nose and it fogged up my face shield. It was great. It made me feel better, and I didn't feel like I was any less because I cried during that moment.
Yeah.
Even though I did try to hide it a little bit under the surgery mask.
I would say my first time on clerkships was probably a similar situation to yours. I got yelled at in front of basically the entire call room, which is like, it can be tough. I also think like I was on psych consult for my psych rotation, and so basically since we're consults, it's usually like the sickest patients, the saddest stories, and I think that was also a hard time.
Mm-hmm. That is tough. The first time I cried because of a difficult day in medical school actually wasn't during clerkship year. It was during preclinical when we had just first started anatomy lab. That was a very difficult experience for me because we had anatomy lab for us. We had cadavers. We learned human anatomy from people who graciously and elegantly donated their body to science and allow us to study the human body. And I always knew that in medical school we would kind of have to do that. That's a part of the medical school experience. That's how you learn. But just actually touching a human body and holding a human heart was just very hard on me emotionally. So I remember going home that day, jumping into the shower, and just kind of crying a little bit. I wasn't particularly sad. It was just very overwhelming to deal with emotionally.
Sure, of course.
In a way, it can be really difficult to imagine all of that until the first day you go in. You always think it's just going to be another part of your life. And like maybe you'd even worked with animals in the past, but something about it is just very different when you see their face like on the board.
It is very difficult. When you are kind of only looking at their parts of their body, it's one thing, but when you actually get to neuroanatomy and you look at their face, you see their eyelashes, you see their nose hairs, and like what they actually looked like when they were alive. It's very different. Yeah. All right, shall we move on to the next question? Hopefully a lighter question. I know. All right.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, you picked a different one.
Yeah, this is not, I guess, never have I ever had bodily fluids on me.
That's the one. All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3.
All of us?
Oh, shocker.
Common theme.
This is definitely good. A good part.
Yeah. I mean, it's just everything. Anything and everything can happen, especially in the ED and the OR. I would say the most recent was probably last week. I was pulling an NG tube and kind of went all over me.
What's an NG tube? Just for people who don't know.
A nasogastric tube basically is a tube that goes to your stomach and you put it through the nose. And so when you pull it, just be careful.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What?
I would say suction was off though. Very important. Take suction off. It was off. But still.
True. What happened to
My
you?
turn? Yeah, I mean, I think the first couple rotations that come to mind are surgery and OB. Especially. I mean, of course, with OB. I don't want to go too far into it, but let's say chances are all of us have probably gotten some bodily fluids during OB.
Yeah.
And surgery, I actually remember my very last surgery of that whole rotation. I was really excited. It was going to be my last one. I was going to go home, going to be able to sleep in the next day. And I had gotten away with not getting blood on my shoes that whole entire rotation. And then we had emergent surgery 6 p.m. in the evening. I go in and there was a lot of blood spurting around in that one. It was an emergent surgery, and I looked down and it's just all over my shoes.
Yeah.
And I don't think I used those shoes again, honestly. So they were my surgery shoes. So I was prepared for this.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm surprised you guys didn't say pediatrics, because during clinic I had to give a vaccine to a baby, and I'm not sure how the diaper came off. I was urinated on in clinic.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's kind of rare based on what you guys are talking about, but they sent me home early.
Because you got urinated?
Yeah, because I got urinated. I was wearing very nice clothes, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So I needed the
sad.
chance to change, and I needed a chance to just wash the urine off.
Yeah.
Good story, though.
Yeah. Good story. True. And kids are so cute. You
Kids
can't
are
blame
so
them. They
yeah.
don't really have any control over their bladder yet. Yeah. Well, I've gotten different kinds of bodily fluids on me. I remember when I was on surgery, I was on pediatric surgery for half my time and trauma surgery on the other half. Trauma surgery is always very messy. There's a lot of blood, a lot of emergent surgery, so, you know, lots of fluid there. But when I was on pediatric surgery, we had a really cute kid who had appendicitis, so we did an appy, removed the appendix. Everything went fine, but when we were about to move him from the OR table over to the stretcher, he had a code brown. So loads of diarrhea over everyone who was trying to move him. I mean, the kid ended up being okay, and it was fine, but just the smell.
So we had
really
different bodily fluid stories for
lots of
everybody.
diversity.
That's
there.
good. Yes.
Good times.
Being in the hospital.
Yeah.
You get used to things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Thank you guys so much for doing these questions. That was really fun.
Yeah,
I
it was
learned
fun.
something.
Having us here.
Yeah, I learned something about all of you that I didn't know before. You know.
No, it was useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For anyone
know.
who's gonna start their clerkship year, it's interesting. It's fun. You'll learn a lot, and it's hard, but you make interesting,
Yeah.
interesting
Stories.
experiences.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We will try to do more videos, getting other people involved, so you get a better sense of what, you know, different people's perspectives are and what their experiences are like. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.